Just in case you were wondering, today is the 5th of May, Cinco de Mayo, and that, of course, is the day that Mexico celebrates its independence. I just thought I'd let you know that in the event you didn't know that. You know that, don't you?
Oh, I do now.
You also know that we have a little bad weather in store for us.
Oh, yes, and I'm not proud to give this forecast out because it's going to be rather variable over the next couple of days, and we'll be talking about that in just a quick minute. But let's look at the high and low for the day. We couldn't have done it any better, friends. We had a high of 65 degrees today. The overnight low this morning was 41, and presently, at 6 o'clock in the Twin Cities, the temperature has dropped 4 degrees in the last hour. It's now 52 degrees, relative humidity 59%. A rising barometer, and the winds are north at 17, but they're gusting. They're busy winds tonight, gusting to 25 miles per hour. We're looking right now at the bagpipe fair that was held in St. Paul today. A rather nice day outside. We got off to a rather shaky start this morning, but as you can see, the skies became partly to mostly sunny by afternoon, and temperatures rose into the middle 60s. A rather wild day because temperatures were not supposed to get that warm. Behind me, you're going to see a temperature graph show up, and we're going to show you what happened. This morning, we had a warm front pass through the area, and that caused a rapid rise in temperatures from the low 40s across the area earlier this morning up to a high of 65 degrees by 12 noon. But then, as the weak low-pressure area passed by, it drew down the cold front again, and temperatures dropped back into the lower 60s by early this afternoon. And now you can see where they are. They're holding right now in the low 50s. Across the 5-state map, a real variety in weather conditions this afternoon. They range from the extremes of 36 degrees in Duluth to 69 degrees, jumping the frontal system down across Rochester. And skies are generally cloudy all across this region here, but sunshine and lots of that helping to boost temperatures up to near 70 degrees. This quasi-stationary frontal system is going to be a real headache for forecasters over the next couple of days. Looking at the satellite picture, you can see here we are. We're in an oasis of fair weather this afternoon, but as you can see, clouds off to the north and west and even to the south of us. The clouds have now moved back over the Twin Cities now, and that's what we're going to see during tonight and most of tomorrow. Clouds and damp with rather cool temperatures. Storm Surge radar at the present time is showing nothing in the way of precipitation, generally a clear screen, which indicates that we're going to be all right for the next couple of hours at least. On the national weather map, we're looking right now at a weak low-pressure wave that passed by the area this morning. This low-pressure wave caused the rain showers that we had earlier today, but in doing so, it brought in warm air this morning. That shot our temperatures up to 65, but now the cooler air is building in behind it, and this cell of Canadian high pressure, a rather cool cell, is now pushing in a southeasterly direction, and that's going to keep us cool right through the next 24 hours. However, this front is quasi-stationary, as we say, and this frontal system is bound to rebound north of us during tomorrow afternoon. So again, we may see temperatures tomorrow do a repeat of what we did today, generally in the lower to middle 60s. Elsewhere, rain still being reported across the southeastern states. This is the remnants of that severe weather system that caused all the tornadoes a few days ago. Just light rain across the Carolinas now. That's moving out to sea, and as you can see elsewhere, it's generally quiet over the entire area. Let's look at the quick look at the 5-day forecast, and we're looking generally at conditions that will be variable over the next couple of days. We won't really clear out again until Tuesday or Wednesday, so hang in there. The local forecast looks like this for tonight. Look for variably cloudy skies. Let's just say it will be cloudy. A brief shower is likely, of course. Lows between 42 and 46. And then for tomorrow, Sunday, clouds and then some sunshine. Temperatures 60 to 65 and VFR conditions to the pilots during the afternoon hours, Stan.
Does that mean good or bad flying weather?
That means generally good weather after the morning.
After they get over the clouds. Okay, thank you very much, Keith. And right now, I got to tell you that the bird is back and they're very happy. Sent my colleague Keith Eicher to the Department of Natural Resources for a live report. Keith?
Indeed they will, Glenn. They will be fishing, but they may be fishing into some ice holes this year because there's still a lot of ice being reported. Right now I'm at the State Climatology office here at the St. Paul campus of the University of Minnesota, and the areas that are being outlined this weekend, at least what we're expecting in terms of ice cover across many of the lakes, we've drawn in a line here basically outlining that area, and north and east of this line is the basic area where we're going to be finding lots of lakes with ice cover predominantly. But once you get south and west of that lake, and especially across some of the larger lakes such as Mill Lac Lake and across lower Red River Lake and the Lake of the Woods area, there for the most part the lakes are relatively ice-free, but there's still, especially across Lake of the Woods, there is still lots of ice cover being reported up in that part of the country. As a matter of fact, we are about a week to 2 weeks behind right now in terms of what we were doing about a year ago. About a year ago at this date, we already had generally open waters areas everywhere. With me right now is Earl Keenest, who is the State Climatology Director. And Earl, could you tell us a little bit more about this area across northeastern Minnesota?
Yes, if you take these lakes up here, a good example is Bass Lake right now. The northern part is open, the Jackfish Bay is closed, and Pipestone Bay, which is not fishable, is open also. Now that's pretty much the story through that area of each of those lakes. Now the trout lakes are still pretty much 100% closed. Now, those people going up into that area probably ought to make a telephone call before they get up there to see what the conditions are on each of those areas they're going to go into.
And that's a good idea. For those of you people who will be leaving Friday night, there's going to be a mass exodus of cars heading up that way. But before you do anything, please check with all those resort owners just to see how the present status is of any individual lake that you'll be going to. Back to you, Glenn.
Now, as far as I can recall from last night, you said it would be sunny in the morning and a little bit rainy in the afternoon. Well, just about the other way around.
No, specifically it was partly sunny, partly cloudy, which means like a variable mix of clouds. So I think we hit it there, but the temperatures were quite a bit cooler than anticipated today. We only had a high today of 57 degrees, speaking of temperatures, and the overnight...
Now, as far as I can recall from last night, you said it would be sunny in the morning and a little bit rainy in the afternoon. Well, just about the other way around.
No, specifically it was partly sunny, partly cloudy, which means like a variable mix of clouds. So I think we hit it there, but the temperatures were quite a bit cooler than anticipated today. We only had a high today of 57 degrees, speaking of temperatures, and the overnight low this morning was 48 degrees. And presently right now at 5 o'clock in the Twin Cities, the temperature now at 55 degrees, a rather cool day. The dew point temperature now down to 35 degrees with a relative humidity of 47%. The barometer is holding steady at 30.10 inches, and the winds are northwest at 12 knots. Well, many times here we talk about barometer readings here, and maybe some of those of you might be wondering, what is a barometer reading? Well, specifically, back in 1643, an Italian scientist by the name of Torricelli discovered that air had weight and pressure. And what he did was he had a glass tube about 30 inches high or so, and he put it in a dish of mercury, and what happened was the mercury got pushed up through the glass tube, and then it kind of leveled off at around, in this illustration, about 30.10 inches to correlate with our barometer reading. And air, because air has weight and acts like a fluid, the air presses down on the mercury, and then it pushes it up through the glass tube, and it's reflected in this case as 30 inches or 30.10 inches of mercury. And whenever you hear a barometer reading, that's exactly what we're relating it to, how strong that atmospheric pressure is to push the column of mercury, specifically how many inches into that glass tube. Of course, scientists now are using a term known as the millibar, a more scientific term of describing pressure, but nonetheless, for those of us who do not relate to millibars, we use inches of mercury still. That is until we go to metric, which will be in about another 2 years or so. But I'll tell you right now, you didn't need a barometer today to tell you what kind of weather we had. It was a rather turbulent day, and despite the high barometer reading, we had lots of clouds just about the entire state today. As you can see, temperatures are in the 50s across northern Minnesota, even 47 degrees in International Falls. But out to the west, clouds are beginning to break now, especially across South Dakota and North Dakota. And look here, temperatures are a little bit milder. Their temperatures are basically in the middle to upper 50s, 60s across South Dakota. A southwesterly wind is now developing on the backside of the high-pressure ridge, and that's beginning to boost temperatures up. And out there, they're finding more sunshine. Elsewhere, temperatures are ranging into the middle 60s across Iowa and 68 degrees down there in Madison, Wisconsin. 50 degrees in Eau Claire. Clouds for the most part and very little in the way of shower activity. The satellite picture verifies this. This is a close-up picture taken about an hour ago on our GOES satellite picture. You can see a large area of scattered to broken cloud cover all across much of central and southern Minnesota. But out here, if you notice, that's where the skies are beginning to clear. If we begin to widen up a little bit, I'm going to show you a little patch of moisture that I'm getting a little bit concerned about. Right down here. Now, there's a patch of moisture beginning to build across Oklahoma and eastern Colorado, and rain is now beginning to break out, and that is causing some concern for Tuesday's weather. But right now, Storm Surge radar is showing nothing. For the first time in about 3 or 4 days, the screen is clear tonight. Just some ground clutter, maybe a few brief sprinkles or some light drizzle being reported just to the north and east of the Minneapolis Airport Station at the present time. On the national weather map, high pressure will be building in across this region from North Dakota. The high is situated right here. The high will slowly move eastward during the next 24 hours, and by tomorrow night, the high will be situated across the Great Lakes. That will put us in a return southwesterly flow of warmer air, but here comes trouble. That warm air is going to begin to bring up moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. As I already said, there is some rain and drizzle now breaking out across the panhandle of Texas, extending all the way up through eastern Colorado, and this band of moisture is going to be slowly advected northward as the high-pressure area moves to our east, and the southerly winds behind that high begin to bring in all that moisture. But elsewhere, it was pretty nice today, even though we had clouds here. Temperatures were ranging in the 80s across the southeastern part of the country today. 84 degrees in Atlanta as of 12 noon, 82 degrees in New Orleans. The New York City and all across New England, the cloud cover beginning to break finally after 2 days of rain and clouds there. Temperature 65 degrees in New York City. Out to the west, pretty much a very nice day out there. Temperatures in the 60s for the most part with no significant weather being reported. And that gets us to the local forecast. And for tonight, we're indicating mainly cloudy skies. There will be some breaks in that overcast from time to time. Temperatures between 37 and 43 degrees. And then for tomorrow, we'll expect a mostly sunny day. We'll have a nice day tomorrow. High temperatures of the upper 60s to lower 70s. Winds will become southwesterly during the day at 10 to 20 knots to those of you who might be outside on your boats tomorrow. And the outlook for Tuesday, Stan, with that moisture approaching from the west, We'll have clouds with some rain being reported and temperatures in the 60s.
Okay, I for one have to thank you. I never really knew how barometric pressure was figured and what it was all about, and I learned something.
It also affects people's behavior at times also.
What do you mean by that? Okay, thank you very much, Keith.
A major problem in yesterday's tornado touchdown was the speed in which it developed and the lack of early warning. News Center 11's meteorologist Keith Eichner is standing by live now at the National Weather Service with a report. Keith?
Okay, Jim, well, officially, the tornado that touched down yesterday in Bloomington was classified as a mini tornado, and compared to the average or maxi tornado, the mini confines its damaged swath to less than 2 miles and usually no wider than about 200 feet. By far, though, the mini tornado is the most common type of tornado occurrence, and yet it's the most difficult to forecast. Now, with me here is Ron Willis, who's the supervisory meteorologist here at the Weather Service Forecast Office. And Ron, I guess the question that enters a lot of people's minds tonight is people were wondering yesterday that a sufficient watch period was not issued before the warning was issued. And I was wondering if you could explain why this happened.
Well, the Severe Storm Watch, the tornado watches, are issued by the National Severe Storm Forecast Center in Kansas City. They have nationwide responsibility for issuance of the watch. And the case yesterday, the widespread atmospheric conditions were just not such for any significant tornado outbreaks over a large-scale area. When we talk about the warning, our responsibilities for a warning are to issue the warning immediately when we get notification that a tornado is on the ground and is doing damage in the Twin Cities area. We received our warning at about 3:54. I'm sorry, we received our first word at 3:54 in the afternoon that a tornado was on the ground and doing damage. And immediately we went with the civil defense sirens and got the word out in the form of the warning.
All right, so this is surmise. So the National Severe Storms Forecast Center has the jurisdiction in issuing that tornado watch. But that was not your jurisdiction. That was just your responsibility to have that warning issued. Is that correct?
Right. The tornado watch is issued by the Severe Storm Forecast Center in Kansas City. Again, this is for a large area for several hours for the area that has a possibility for significant tornado outbreaks. Again, the warning is issued by our office when a tornado is actually sighted.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ron Willis. Back to you, Jim.
All right, thank you, Keith.
All right, now the man takes his weather forecasting very seriously. The man is a meteorologist. The man said, you heard a moment ago, that he assures us that the weather is going to be just as good or better, right?
Just as good during tomorrow, Stan. I have no qualms about the weather coming up. In fact, we could mimeograph this forecast right through Tuesday. It's amazing. I'll phone it in. Why not? Take a couple of days off. Why not do it? Because that's exactly what the weather's been. It's been mimeographing itself for the last couple of days. We'll see more of that same type of weather tomorrow. And again on Tuesday and again on Wednesday. The hits just keep coming on. Let's look at the high and low for the day. That was a hit, too. We had a high today of 91 degrees, and that's highs, the high for the year thus far this year. The low this morning was a rather cool 52 degrees. And right now at 10 o'clock in the Twin Cities, fresh off the wire, we now have a temperature of 72 degrees. The dew point temperature is now beginning to creep up. It's now up to 50 degrees. That's that humidity we're talking about a moment ago, Stan. Relative humidity also going up at 46%. The barometer is rising, and the winds are westerly at 6 knots. Well, look at this nice tranquil scene. This occurred late in the afternoon. Some clouds have begun to build up by this point, but still a rather tranquil afternoon overall, even though we did have some showers developing later in the afternoon as forecasted. But now the showers, for the most part, are now beginning to dissipate. If we look at the satellite picture tonight across the 5-state area, this was taken about an hour and a half ago. Notice that the band of showers that was bothering us has now moved well to the south and east of the Twin Cities. The band now extending from northern Iowa through western Wisconsin, and generally we are now in generally clear skies. But there's another band of showers breaking out across much of the Dakotas at this present time, but that's of no real concern to us. But tomorrow, the disturbance that's causing these showers will have to be watched, because that may regenerate some shower activity here during the afternoon hours. Across the 5-state region, as of 9 o'clock tonight, Central Daylight Time, generally everywhere, as we say, just about the entire state of Minnesota has clear skies. Temperatures are beginning to drop back from highs of 85 to 90. The coolest we can find is 59 degrees in Duluth at the present time, 66 degrees in International Falls, but there are some showers being reported. Showers being reported now at Minot and at Bismarck, North Dakota. Temperatures there in the lower 60s. And another band of showers across extreme southern Minnesota. And what residual showers we have are now moving into western Wisconsin Elsewhere, though, it's just generally quiet across the entire scene. Storm Search radar, it's now generally quiet. There's only one little band of showers. It's showing up right there across the extreme southeastern portion of the state near Winona, but that will be no concern to us. As you can see, the screen is generally clear, and that's a good indicator. Again, this is all diurnal shower activity. On the national weather map during tonight, we can tell you that the area of high pressure continues to remain solid across the southern one half of the nation. And across this part of the country, we're still being influenced by a broad upper-level trough, which continues to cause instability in the lower levels of the atmosphere. The air is cold aloft, but that's what you get with upper-level troughs. And because of that, the strong surface heating of the sun tends to heat up that ground during the afternoon, makes the air very unstable, and showers and thunderstorms break out. This is like the third afternoon in a row this has happened. Now we're looking at a weak trough that's beginning to approach now from the Dakotas. This trough will continue to move slowly eastward, and in doing so, will join up with this cold front, which is going to try to sail southeastward during the next 24 to 36 hours. Therefore, temperatures tomorrow may not be as warm as they were today. Figure tomorrow generally in the upper 80s overall. And then for Tuesday, maybe even a little bit cooler with temperatures leveling off in the middle 80s. But yet again, it's a very, very weak weather pattern, and there isn't really too much significance to it. Meanwhile, across the east today, as you can see, rain for the most part across much of the northeastern state. 65 degrees will do it for the high in New York with lots of rain. Meanwhile, out across the west coast, still very, very hot. 101 degrees today in Sacramento, California. 90s all the way up as far north as Oregon, but that hot weather will stay there. It will not be of any concern to us, and that gets us to the local forecast. And for tonight, look for generally clear skies. The showers across extreme western Wisconsin. Otherwise, don't worry about a thing. Overnight low temperatures generally between 55 and 60 degrees. A rather warm night. And then for tomorrow, mostly sunny and becoming hot once again, but again, scattered afternoon showers developing, highs of 85 to 90. The same will hold true for Tuesday. More of the same, a little cooler. And for the boating and aviation people, expect west to northwesterly winds tomorrow at 10 to 15 knots. VFR conditions for the pilots.
And you're a pilot, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
You've been up flying since you've been here?
I'm going to go up in a couple of weeks and get back out the flight status. That's right.
See if you still remember how to do it. Okay, thank you very much, Keith.
Things were looking a bit bleak for the weekend earlier this evening, but tonight, well, Keith says there have been some changes. So?
Yes, some slight changes, but nonetheless, any slight change at this point has to be noted because it is a weekend and it's very important to a lot of us who are going to be going out this weekend having a good time. And we'll try to make the best of the situation, even though the weather map tonight is kind of saying a couple of other things. We'll talk about it. Let's look at the high and low for the day past. And that was a good sign right there because we only had a high today of 84 degrees. That's a lot cooler than it was yesterday at this time. The low temperature this morning was 70. Presently at 10 o'clock in the Twin Cities, it's now 78 degrees under a high cirriform overcast. The dew point is now dropping back. It's now down to 60 degrees, and now it's beginning to feel comfortable outside. Relative humidity 54%. The barometer is rising, and the winds are northeast at 7 miles per hour. Well, look at this beautiful sunset that we had this evening, and as you can see, there's the sun setting behind this nice little architectural barrier here as we're looking at. Skies, for the most part, have cleared out in this picture, but now the sun's below the horizon. Clouds are prevailing across a large area of the viewing area, and that's pretty much going to be the story. Look at the night satellite picture. There it is. This is the infrared enhancement. Clouds extending from central Minnesota all the way down through Iowa. That's the frontal band, but look at this. Out here, there's a large area of moisture. This is, again, another large band of clouds. And out here, thunderstorms, some pretty bad ones developing now across western Nebraska, western Kansas. We've had some reports there of a severe thunderstorm warning in effect and some hail being reported at the present time. And these thunderstorms will be of some concern to us over the next 24 hours. Across the five-state map, as of 9 o'clock tonight, just about everywhere, skies are either partly cloudy or clear. Temperatures are warmest south and east of this stationary front. This is where the warm, humid tropical air mass is. Temperatures ranging from 74 degrees in Rochester, 83 degrees in Des Moines, 80 degrees in Green Bay, but get north and west of this frontal system, and the air begins to dry out fairly rapidly, and the cloud cover thins out rapidly as well. 71 degrees in Duluth, 68 degrees in International Falls, 70s and 60s for the most part across the Dakotas, and up there is where you're going to find the most comfortable weather with the lowest dew points and low humidities. Storm Search radar on the 250 nautical mile range is showing practically nothing. Anomalous propagation once again enhancing the ground targets, but for the most part it's a clear screen, and that's good news for tonight because we have dropped showers out of the weather forecast. On the national weather map tonight, a couple of things of note. One, here's the stationary front at the present time. It's now extending across northern Wisconsin down through northwestern Iowa. The front is now stalling out. There is a weak wave of low pressure developing now along the front across western Kansas. That's the reason why they're having the bad thunderstorms tonight. This wave will slowly propagate northeastward along the front, and probably some showers will break out here during tomorrow afternoon. But after that, we see generally on Sunday, let's say just partly to mostly cloudy skies. The shower threat will be probably mostly over by then as this high-pressure system north of Montana sails to our north, so somewhat drier air will continue to filter in across the region. Meanwhile, Across the eastern states tonight, a tropical low-pressure system now across central Florida, causing an area of light to moderate rain to be breaking out across much of eastern Georgia, South Carolina. This low will continue to move northward, will be of no threat to maritime interest, but it will cause steady soaking rains across much of the eastern seaboard, especially by Monday as it moves northward. And that gets us at a local forecast. And for tonight, mainly cloudy skies. I have dropped showers out of the forecast. Low temperatures overnight between 64 and 68 degrees, a better night for sleeping. For tomorrow, mainly cloudy with some scattered showers, but some sunshine too. High 78 to 83. And for Sunday, mainly cloudy, maybe a slight chance of a shower. 75 to 80 for the highs, a little cooler. Boating and aviation interest, winds Saturday will be north at less than 12 miles an hour or 10 knots. And pilots expect VFR conditions all day. And sunset will be rather late at 9:02 tomorrow night. Jim.
All right, sounds pretty good. And if you're not right, Keith will be back here again tomorrow night and Sunday to atone for those sins. In sports this evening,
Well, we have Keith sitting over here next to me, and normally this is not the time for you to come in and do weather, but because of the events of today, we asked you to stick around a little earlier in the program. Basically, how did this storm develop so quickly? I watched last night on the 10 o'clock news, and you said that we might have a little rain, a little showers, but you didn't really give us any indication that we would have anything as severe as happened today.
Well, at that time, we really weren't aware of the gravity of the situation. There was a large area of thunder showers across the western plains, down across Kansas and Nebraska, and I had pointed out on that show last night that that area was moving in our direction and might cause some concern for our weather for today, and indeed that was the case, Stan. But as it turned out, there were a couple of ingredients which really made this situation explosive as it got across our neck of the woods. Number one, we had ample moisture. We had moisture at all levels of the atmosphere, all the way up to, I think, past the 300 millibar level, or 30,000 feet. That was one problem. Number two, we had a strong convergence zone. That's the actual frontal boundary that separated the cool air that we're in now to that warm, sticky air we were in a couple of days ago. That boundary was setting up over southeast Minnesota. The third ingredient was a low-level jet, which was coming up across the southern plains. That's a low-level wind max around 5,000 feet. And as it got just about south of here, it began to fan out and climb upwards, and it caused upward vertical motion. And that's the key. The upward vertical motion and that moisture contributed to the huge instability which caused the high-level thunderstorms that developed today.
So, in other words, it's really difficult at best to forecast an event like this, a tornado. It's really a most difficult thing for a meteorologist to do.
Well, it's something that has to be monitored hour by hour, and by let's say early this morning, 6 a.m., the National Severe Storms Forecast Center saw the potential and then put out the watch, and they hit it right on the nail because the tornado did develop.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's check in once again with Keith Eichner and find out what the weather forecast is for tomorrow. But before you do, earlier you were talking about the difficulty factor in trying to predict when a tornado was going to strike down. I remember about 3-4 weeks ago when that funnel cloud hit Bloomington, the National Weather Service didn't know anything about it. Remember that? It was like off the wall?
Well, they have even said to us in the storm training sessions that the mini tornado is the most difficult type of tornado to predict, and I suspect that was the one that ran through the Minnetonka area this morning.
How about the one that was a mini tornado?
Right, and the one that we had also this morning was also a mini tornado. They're extremely difficult to forecast, but on the contrary, the large-scale conditions that were present for tornado formation were evident this morning, and the National Severe Storms Forecast Center issued the watch, and it was a wise decision.
Okay.
So, here we go. Well, we're going to tell you something. The weather forecast that we issued earlier tonight was a wise decision because skies have cleared after having such a stormy day, and right now it's absolutely gorgeous outside, brisk northeasterly winds, a little bit of twilight still left in the late daylight hours up here in the far north. And let's look at the current statistics for the day. And the day past, well, we started out with a high today of 78 degrees. That was around midnight. It's now dropped back to 57 degrees, and that's our present temperature. And by the way, we had 1.12 inches of rain, for those of you wondering how much rain fell from the skies today. At 10 o'clock in the Twin Cities, the temperature now at 57 degrees. Dew point temperature, oh, really nice, 49 degrees. Relative humidity, 74%. The barometer is rising, and the winds are north at 15 miles an hour, but they have been gusting as high as 25 in the last hour or so. This was the scene that we saw late this afternoon as the sky gradually began to clear up to the west. And look at that scene. After having really torrential downpours that we had earlier today, we finally were rewarded with a nice evening sunset, but that's going to be changing because we have more weather to talk about during tomorrow. Behind me is the time-lapse photography of the thunderstorm that moved across from South Dakota earlier this morning. As we see it moving across the state, you can see that by around 10 o'clock the storm became rather circular. There's the actual core, that white dot that you see right there. And as we go to a live shot, as we now look at the picture taken about an hour and a half ago, that thunderstorm has now moved across extreme northeastern Wisconsin up into Lake Superior. And skies have now cleared out for the most part across all of Minnesota, but look out here. Here comes more trouble, friends. Another area of thunder showers is developing now across the Dakotas, and the disturbance causing that is heading in our direction, and we're going to be seeing some problems. Result is that during tomorrow. Across the 5-state map as of 9 o'clock tonight, everywhere, skies for the most part are cloudy east of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. And here's the frontal boundary, which caused all the troubles that we had earlier today. The warm air is now being cut off, and it's now confined across eastern Iowa, across eastern Wisconsin. Temperatures, as you can see, are still very warm. 82 degrees in Madison, 79 degrees in Green Bay. But jump this front, and strong north to northeasterly winds take over, bringing down some cooler air from the north. 58 degrees in Eau Claire, 54 degrees with cloudy skies in Duluth, 62 in Rochester. Out here, 59 in Alexandria. Out here, where sunshine prevails for most of the day, temperatures are still rather warm. 69 in Pierre, 67 degrees in Bismarck, and that's pretty much the story just about everywhere, as skies are clearing for the most part just to our west. But as again we said, more clouds are beginning to approach now across the Dakotas. On the national weather map tonight, here it is. This is the remnants of the severe thunderstorm system. It's now been redefined as a mesoscale low-pressure system. The low is now across extreme northeastern Wisconsin at the present time, dragging the cold front down across central Iowa now and bringing the cool air in. High pressure will provide us with fair weather during tonight, but another disturbance moving in from across Montana and the Dakotas will promise to bring more showers and thunderstorms during tomorrow. And that gets us to the forecast. And for tonight, mainly clear skies and breezy. A nice night. Keep those windows open. Good sleeping weather. Low temperatures 50 to 56 degrees. And then for tomorrow, we'll start out with some sunshine early in the morning, but then clouding over with showers and thunderstorms redeveloping. Highs tomorrow 70 to 75 degrees, and for Monday, Stan, partly cloudy, high temperatures in the 70s to near 80 degrees.
But no tornadoes tomorrow.
I don't think so.
You won't go out on a limb and predict that. Right?
I don't think. I wouldn't be responsible if I was doing that.
Okay.
Good evening, I'm Glenn Burns, Weather Center 11 forecaster. We're going to interrupt the Johnny Carson Show for just a couple of minutes to bring you a live weather update and an instant eye report on some of the tornado damage that occurred in southeastern Minneapolis and the 7-county metro area for today. First, let's go to storm surge radar on the 125-mile range, and we'll actually see more storms building just to the northwest of the Twin Cities. They are very strong thunderstorms moving east-southeastward at about 30 miles per hour and should be in the northern sections of the Twin Cities within a half an hour to 45 minutes from now. And we here at Weather Center 11 will keep you up to date on the latest weather conditions. And one of the tornadoes touching down in Maplewood east of St. Paul, and it's O'Day Circle and O'Day Street is where some of the damage has occurred at the present time. Right now we sent my colleague Keith Eichner out over there with the Instant Eye camera. And Keith, you're about to come up, I know. Can you tell us a little bit about what is going on out there? Was it straight line winds or was it tornado activity?
Well, Glenn, the consensus here seems to be that it was a tornado, at least at the present time. There were some people here from the Sheriff's Department who claimed that it was a tornado. And the damage was confined to only maybe about 2 houses, but the house that you're looking at right now that's panning behind me here, this is the house that took the brunt of the damage. The garage totally destroyed. I don't think there was any car inside when that took place. Also, the living room, which we cannot show you at the present time, that had its roof completely lifted off. I saw insulation on the floor. Some of the furniture was in disarray in the living room, and we had somebody in the house when this tornado went sweeping by. And we're going to be talking to her momentarily. The storm struck here shortly after 8 o'clock tonight. That was only about 3.5 hours ago approximately. And as we were driving down here tonight, we saw some lightning from that cloud that was still causing all that severe weather here only about 3.25 hours ago. With me is Cindy, who is a resident of the house. And Cindy, I gather you were pretty scared when this all took place. I guess it happened rather quickly. Tell me what happened. What were you doing when this happened, and what did you do?
I was standing in the hall just, you know, wallpapering. And all of a sudden, the house began to shake, and there was loud noises. It was whooshing, and the windows were blowing in, and the doors were blowing inward. And I walked up to the doors to look out through the window and tried to hold the door shut because I didn't want it to blow in and knock everything around. I just thought it was severe winds. Then it hit me that it's more than just severe winds. I thought it might have been a tornado. I ran to the basement immediately. I sat in the corner, and the basement windows began to breathe in and out. And all of a sudden, the circuit breakers began to spark, and sawdust and debris it was real weird. It was real foggy down there. But I just sat in the corner with my head between my legs. I don't even know what corner I was in, but I was in the basement, and everything is is fine down there.
Was there a roar? Was there a tremendous roar? Was there a lot of noise when this took place?
Yeah, it went woo, woo, woo like this, and it was just real black.
And how long did the whole episode last, would you say, from the time you were first in the hallway until the time that you thought it was over?
Snapping my fingers, it was just so fast. It was, I can't even tell you. I mean, I was delirious. I don't know.
One last thing, you had told me before that it had gotten very dark outside and you couldn't see a thing.
I couldn't see a thing. It got so dark. At first it was raining real hard, and like I said, it was real dark, but I just thought it was a real bad storm and severe winds, but then things just didn't seem to be right, so I just thought, I'm getting out of here.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Cindy. I might point out that Cindy has only lived here for only a few weeks in this state, and this is a brand new house, and this is the welcome that they got here with a tornado going right over the house. That's how things shape up at the present time. I'll throw it back to you, Glenn.
Keith, do you see any power lines down in that area?
No, Glenn, not at all. The power lines are submerged beneath the surface here. There's no above-ground power lines at all. I would presume that everything is underneath.
Okay, thank you, Keith. We'll get back to you a little bit later on.
Residents in southeastern metropolitan area are still cleaning up the damage from last night's storm. Here's more from News Center 11 meteorologist Keith Eichner.
The storm that rumbled across Maplewood last night has been confirmed as a mini tornado. Roaring out of the skies about 9:10 p.m., the tornado damaged 7 houses and nearly destroyed an 8th. This home was the one that experienced the most damage. It was right in the path of the 110-foot wide twister. Cindy, resident of this house, was inside when it struck.
The windows were just going in and out, and I thought, oh no, it's going to get me down here. I ran back up the stairs, I opened the door, and all I could see was the house, glass, windows, the roof off. The front doors were just wide open, and the screen was broken, and I threw open the door, and it was raining real hard, and I ran next door to our neighbors.
About 14 tornadoes in total swept through Minnesota, but no deaths or injuries occurred. Reporting from Maplewood, this is meteorologist Keith Eichner reporting for News Center 11.
We're going to talk about what?
Nothing.
Now, he just said we're going to talk about my what. Now, come on. What did you just say?
We could talk about a couple of things. We could talk about the... I can't talk at this hour.
Do it right now.
We're talking about the meteor shower that will be visible.
That's right. There is a meteor shower up. Is it visible right now?
It should be, but,
but
the Earth will become in more favorable position after 1 o'clock in the morning, daylight time.
The Earth will become in a more... You heard it here first.
That's right. That's right. But seriously, in the constellation Perseids, the meteor shower will peak out tomorrow night, but I suspect we'll have cloud cover tomorrow night. But if you're out later tonight, after Saturday Night Live, go out and have a look. You might have quite a shot up there at that sky.
Everybody go out after Saturday Night Live and watch the meteors.
Whatever. Hey, look, I wanted to talk to you about something, and that was the forecast. We're going to give you the forecast up front tonight. We're going to try something a little bit differently. You know, people complain, gee, we have to wait 3 minutes to get a weather forecast. Let's give it to you right now up front, then we'll talk about the rest of the weather as things stand. Let's look at that forecast. For tonight, we're in...
Keith Eichner says that trend should be continuing. News Center 11 weather coming up next. Tonight we're sort of celebrating here locally the return of the Ayatollah, as we call him these days. Back from vacation in the East.
Yeah, and what a nice present. When I got back, I saw in the mail that, well, I'm going to show it to you here. Jim, the American Meteorological Society has issued yours truly the television seal of good practice for weathercasting here in the Twin Cities. There it is right there on your screen. That's what it looks like. And that means, as far as the AMS is concerned, that the weathercast that I'm doing here is, according to their standards, meets the professional standards and the educational instructional. So,
but you can't fool all the people all the time.
No, you can't do that. But nonetheless, I appreciate it. It was not easy to get. But then again, you know, weathercasting is not a very easy art to learn either. And a lot of us, including Glenn, we all know that it's not easy. But I'll tell you one thing that's going to be easy, and it's going to be that forecast. Nice weather to come back to. A beautiful day today. Ike's Almanac says we had a high today of 76 degrees. The low this morning, wow, rather chilly at 46. Running 5 degrees below normal for this time of the year in terms of our departure from normal. Right now, at 10 o'clock in the Twin Cities, we have a temperature of 59 degrees. The dew point at 49. That temperature-dew point spread beginning to get closer now, and the humidity is beginning to increase as a result. The barometer is rising, and the winds are southwest at 7 miles an hour. Across the 5-state region, as of about an hour ago, everywhere we go, crystal clear skies prevailing. If you're going to be outside tonight looking at the stars, it should be absolutely ideal. The moon will not be rising until very, very late tonight, probably after 2 o'clock in the morning. If you can, get out there and have a look. But meanwhile, temperatures are beginning to drop back, and we do have one little temperature there I want to get rid of right now. That's the wrong temperature. These are temperatures as of 9 o'clock, 62 degrees in Des Moines, 57 degrees and clear skies up in Duluth. As we said, clear everywhere, maybe just some scattered to broken high cirrus across northeastern Minnesota, reflecting a weak frontal boundary that's now situated across northeastern Minnesota. Looking across the entire United States, as the satellite picture indicates earlier this afternoon, there we go. Temperatures, they're fooling on me tonight. As you can see, skies are clear all across much of the Midwestern states. This is a very unusual picture to see. Skies is clear from the Great Lakes all the way down to Texas is most unusual. Meanwhile, the old weather that bothered us a couple of days with rain, that's now moved well off the Atlantic coast. There's still some very heavy showers southeast of the, let's say, Georgia area and down across northern Florida. Elsewhere, though, as you can see, clear skies prevailing everywhere. Earlier tonight, we talked about the development of a tropical depression. It's still located north of the Yucatan Peninsula. These are still the 5 o'clock positions, or 2200 Greenwich position. The storm continuing to drift slowly in a north-northwesterly direction, and we'll be watching that over the next day or so. It is expected to probably attain tropical storm intensity by this time tomorrow night, and when that happens, it will have a name to it. It will begin with an H, but I don't know the name of it offhand at this present time. Meanwhile, I can tell you that this H, standing for high pressure, now situated across Missouri, will continue to drift eastward, provide us with fair weather over the next 36 to 48 hours and warming up as it does so. The forecast reflects this change with clear conditions overnight and a little bit warmer than last night. We'll say 49 to 54 across the metro area, but upper 40s or middle 40s in the outlying areas. Tomorrow, sunny and warmer, highs 78 to 83, and for Monday, continued sunny, highs of 80 to 85. Boating and aviation, folks, a perfect day tomorrow. Southwesterly winds at 10 to 20.
Okay, sounds like a good one. And congratulations on your certification there.
Thank you.
Well,
not only do I not know what a microbarograph is, I don't even think I'm pronouncing. What did you bring with you tonight for a visual aid?
Well, this is my most expensive toy.
Show and tell time with Keith Eichner.
Yes. A couple of years ago, I bought this instrument, but it's known as a microbarograph stand.
That was right.
You got it, and you got the pronunciation right as well.
I usually do.
Now, most people, most people are familiar with barometers. Now, barometers, the aneroid barometers, the ones that you buy your mom or dad for Christmas, and you put it up on the wall. This goes one step beyond that. This microbarograph records air pressure on a rotating clock drum. Now, what we have here, we have a pen, which is attached to a vacuum chamber inside, and according to air pressure changes, if there's a significant air pressure change, that change will be transmitted along the pen, and then there's a little bit of ink there at the end, and that will record on this rotating clock drum a continuous record of air pressure changes. And we look at this very carefully because this will tell us trends in the weather. Now, for example, we're showing you a tracing right here recorded back in the winter in New Jersey, and you can see off to the left we're indicating a low point of the line. That's an area of low pressure passing by, and then look how the tracing goes upwards. That's an area of high pressure, and that's when good weather arrives across any part of the country, and that's what you can see. I'm also going to show you here a little bit of a tracing just to show you day-by-day changes. This is a weekly graph here showing you typical weather events that occur during a week, and right here, for example, we're showing you a cold frontal passage that occurred right here, and then the pressure rises as high pressure moves in. Then, whoops, here comes another low pressure area. The pressure once again drops, and if I don't stop shaking, we'll get this through. And as you can see, the pressure drops, and that's what happens. And when air pressure rises or falls, that dictates important changes in our weather, and we watch this instrument very closely, Stan. It's a very useful instrument to have.
Isn't that amazing?
Isn't that amazing?
No, it really is. It, you know, it's something, it's a tool of your trade.
Yes, it is. It's very important. It's like the stethoscope to a doctor, a microbarograph to a meteorologist.
And speaking of the tools of your trade, you have about a minute, 10 seconds left to tell us all about the weather.
Okay, well, let's talk about the current statistics in the day past. We had a beautiful day today, Stan. A high of 85, a low of 55. You thought it was warm? Yes, it was. It was 13 degrees warm. warmer than it should be at this time of the year. At 10 o'clock in the Twin Cities, we have a temperature now of 71 degrees, the dew point at 52 degrees, barometer 29.98 and falling, and that's what we're showing you right now. And the winds are south, out of the south at 9 miles an hour. That's going to be continuing to keep warm air up across this part of the country tonight. This was a picture we showed you a few hours ago on the earlier show tonight. Clouds moving in as we now move the sequence ahead to just about an hour ago. You can see that clouds are rapidly streaking in now from the Dakotas. It's moving in our direction, and that means important changes in our weather coming up over the next couple of days, especially by tomorrow and during tomorrow night. On the national weather map, we're looking now at an approaching cold front now moving in across the Rockies. It's going to move across the Dakotas during tomorrow. An area of showers and thunderstorms will likely develop out in advance of this cold frontal system. So tomorrow we won't have as much sunshine as today, but we'll have a little bit of sun, but also lots of clouds too, and perhaps a shower or two developing, especially in the afternoon. Then by the weekend, much colder Arctic air will be building in from northwestern Canada, and that's going to serve to bring us down to more normal temperatures for this time.
And in just a moment, we're going to check in with Keith Eichner and find out what the 300 millibar map is doing. You see, that's the way he forecasts the weather. All I know is it's cold outside, folks, and how cold, we'll find out in just a moment as we continue. Now, in case you were wondering exactly why it's so cold outside, it's very simple, you see, folks. All you have to do is read the 300 millibar map, which I'm going to turn over to my friend right here.
Oh,
and I understand there's also
much.
a 500 millibar map.
Yes, we have various levels in the atmosphere to forecast weather with.
What's the difference?
Well, the difference is, for example, 300 millibar maps, we use it to find the jet stream. It's also a good steering level, while the 850 millibar map we use primarily for temperature forecasting.
And the jet stream brings all that cold air in.
That's right. That's right. Well, we're going to show you a little diagram about that. Let's talk about the day past. An incredibly cool day today. We only had a high today of 45 degrees this afternoon. The overnight low last night was 35, running 14 degrees below normal for this time of the year. Presently at 10 o'clock in the Twin Cities, skies have now finally cleared. We now have mainly clear skies. The temperature now down to 38 degrees. Dew point at 31. That's one of the keys in the forecast. The barometer is holding steady, and the winds are southeasterly at 5 miles per hour. This is the jet stream map, friends. Now, this is basically tracing an area of strong winds aloft at around the 300 millibar level, or approximately 30,000 feet. And if you notice, the jet stream is now coming right out of Canada, coming right out of the northwestern portions of Canada, down through the Dakotas, and then into our neck of the woods. And whenever that takes place, that brings down cool Canadian air masses coming down from that same area. And that pattern has been not changing for the last 3 to 4 days. It's been staying right where it is, and we don't see much of a change over the next couple of days, but hopefully, as winds begin to flatten out somewhat across the western part of the country, our temperatures will begin to warm up. But until this jet stream begins to move and tilt more to the west, we're going to see continued cold temperatures to this time of the year. Let's look at the satellite picture tonight. We're showing you now an area of clearing skies finally. The clouds are now persisting across much of Wisconsin and the upper Great Lakes region, but out across Minnesota and especially out across the Dakotas now. Skies are now clear, and that's going to set the stage for some very, very chilly temperatures overnight, especially across Minnesota. As of 9 o'clock tonight, just about everywhere, skies have now cleared out except for the northeastern third of Minnesota. Even this, snow showers now being reported out in Duluth with a temperature of 38 degrees, 32 degrees with cloudy skies. That's the coldest we can find out in International Falls. But get west of that jet stream and temperatures really begin to warm up. 57 degrees in Bismarck, 61 degrees out in the Rapid City area. This warm air is going to pretty much stay where it is, but we might see a gradual warm up in our temperatures develop here during tomorrow as sunshine returns in full force and temperatures begin to warm up as a result. On the national weather map tonight, not much of a pattern going on with northwesterly winds aloft as well as near the surface, not much of a chance for warm-up. However, there is a warm frontal system now developing across western Minnesota. Behind it, somewhat warmer air beginning to work its way in, and tomorrow we'll see some of that warm air arrive here, not in the 70s, maybe not even in the 60s, but we figure upper 50s to near 60 for a high. Eventually, a storm system getting in shape across the east of the Canadian Rockies will move in our direction, and that will set the stage for an increase in clouds tomorrow night, and probably some showers or at least good clouds developing on Monday. The forecast.
And by the way, I would like to congratulate you on your AMS seal, which you recently received.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
I don't know if you've made a point of letting everybody know that or not.
No, I'm kind of modest about this.
Well, sure you are. He's a picture of modesty, isn't he? Okay, in just a moment we're going to check. You can see the weather was good when Chick taped that report. It changed dramatically toward the end of the evening. We had a little bit of everything today, from gray skies to beautiful sunny skies to rain. The man over here in the plaid jacket and the green turtleneck, known as Keith Eichner, our meteorologist, will tell us all about it as we move along. You know what he actually just said to me? He said, I'm glad I didn't wear a solid green outfit. I don't know why, but I'm glad you wear what you wore. Keith, you look very nice.
Well, thank you very much.
What happened to your weather forecast? You didn't say anything about rain yesterday?
Well,
you said it was going to be warmer today.
It was warmer.
But then all of a sudden, bluey.
Well, after sundown it went. But you know, Stan, there's an old proverb that says you're only as good as your weather data. And when your weather data is rotten, you come out with a rotten forecast.
When you come out rotten forecast.
Yeah.
Okay.
But seriously, if you have a good forecast, you can't complain.
No, actually, it was a nice day today. It was a good day today.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at the rain.
Well, kiss it goodbye, because after tonight, that's it. It goes all downhill after that.
Did you say we might get snow tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't want to lead anybody, but we'll talk more about that in just a second. But you notice, friends, we've been running much colder than normal the last week or so, and we prepared a special graph tonight just to show you what's been going on over the last couple of weeks. Now, Stan, we've drawn up a graph here representing average temperatures for each day over the past 2 weeks. Now, that black horizontal line in the center is what is considered the normal temperature. Now, during the last week of September, temperatures averaged above normal, and on some days it was over 10 degrees warmer than what it should be. But beginning around the 29th of September, temperatures began dipping to colder than normal levels, and the only day that saw normal temperatures was on the 1st of October. From that day on, it's been all downhill, and as you can see, it's been dropping and dropping, and the extended 6 to 10 day forecast outlook is indicating a continuation of colder than normal temperatures right through the middle of next week, which not only makes it uncomfortable, but also spells out higher than normal heating bills.
That's true.
That's true.
You're just full of good news tonight.
Oh, good news. Well, let's talk about some of the other good news we have for you. Let's talk about Ike's Almanac. Certainly no changes. We had a high today of 64, the highest we've seen here in about a week. The low temperature last night was 30 degrees, not 34. That was our first below freezing temperature, running 7 degrees below normal for this time of the year. Presently now, at 10 o'clock, we have a temperature now of 46 degrees, dew point temperature at 44, the air almost totally saturated. The winds are out of the west at 8 miles an hour, and the barometer is holding steady. On the national weather map, the reason why we're not going to get any warmer, well, here it is. The leading edge of somewhat cooler air has just moved through the Twin Cities in the last couple of hours. It's been heralded by some light rain showers, but they're now moving away from us now. Somewhat drier air is now filtering in from the Dakotas, but way up here, there's a reservoir of cold air now developing over western Canada. It's heading in our direction, and by tomorrow night, temperatures are going to be getting so cold here that it may actually squeeze out what residual moisture we have on the air. And if that happens, we might see actual flurries here by later tomorrow afternoon and especially tomorrow night. So there goes our bet in that pool that we had for the snow flurries. Let's talk about the radar right now. The radar is still showing some light rain showers off to the southeastern portions of Minnesota, but most of the activity is quit. Just a little bit of residual activity out here across Alexandria, and that's just about it. Across the 5-state region, as of about an hour ago, still some rain now beginning to slide slowly southeastward now. Clouds are beginning to break now across the western portions of Minnesota, and temperatures are rather mild across the Dakotas, 48 degrees in Bismarck, but look at that, only 36 degrees out across International Falls. So let's look at that local forecast. Flurries possibly before ending 28 to 34, and for Tuesday, partly cloudy, windy and cold. We might even struggle to reach 40 degrees, Stan.
I'm going to put my snow tires on right now.
You better do.
That's it. I'm not going to mess around. Okay, Keith, thank you very much. Our regular weatherman Glenn Burns has the night off, and sitting in for him is Keith Eichner, and he tells us something that a lot of people probably would be very happy to hear. The nights are getting longer than the days. We'll also have the complete weather forecast when we return. Young Keith Eichner is with us. It just brings back memories of the weekends.
Doesn't it?
It's good to have you with us again.
Yeah, it's good to be working with you again, pal.
It was a beautiful day today.
Oh, the hits just keep coming on, Stan. And you know, it's been 14 days now since we've seen some rain here.
I haven't been counting, but it's been a long dry spell. It's been
a dry
nice.
stretch, but it's been nice. Who's complaining? A high today of 85 degrees, friends.
A little more snow.
Yeah, a little bit more snow, and you'll have to bear with me through this weather report. It's very hard to talk with a sore throat.
Catching the cold that I caught from Steve Vicente.
I thank the both of you for that. I have lots to owe you for. But I will tell you that we are talking. Temperatures are beginning to warm up out across the Dakotas now. They're warmer now than they were about a minute ago. No, that's 1 minute time cue. As of about 5 hours ago, temperatures are warming up as southwesterly winds continue to strengthen. Teens late in the day, and I think I'm down to about 5 seconds now, Ward. Thank you.
Don't let him shake you up,
No,
Keith. Thank you. Keith Eichner says that we've got one more day in this deep freeze, and then things should start looking up and even warming up. He'll be in with the weather forecast in just a moment. Well, I jumped up early this morning to run the dogs for a while and thought at 7 degrees below zero it was cold, but according to you, not as cold as it was in Montana.
That's right. Cutbank, Montana, Jim, had 38 below zero this morning. Amazing, huh? 7 below 0 at the Twin Cities Airport, 8 below at my house up in Plymouth, and I trust that this is going to be about the last 12 hours that the Arctic Express is going to be spending its card here in Minnesota, because moderation is coming up in our weather for tomorrow and Tuesday. And the example about Montana, interestingly enough, Jim, is that it was 38 below 0 in Cut Bank this morning, but it's now up to 32 above 0 last hour. So that's an indication of things to come. Let's look at our own weather right here in the Twin Cities. We had a high today of only a measly 5 degrees. How about that? The low this morning was 7 below 0, obviously the coldest for the season thus far, and we ran 16 degrees colder than we should be for this time of the year. At 5 o'clock in the Twin Cities, the temperature has dropped about 4 degrees in the last hour. It's now down to 1 degree. Relative humidity is at 62%. The barometer continuing to fall from a very high reading right now at 30.68 inches. And the winds are light. They're out of the west at 7 miles per hour. Looking at the 5-state region, and these are the latest hourly temperatures that we just got off the circuit in the last couple of minutes or so, it is still very, very cold across the entire 5-state region. Not even the first signs of moderation taking place across the western Dakotas right now, which is the first area we look for moderation. Only 8 degrees at this hour at Rapid City, 6 degrees in Minot, North Dakota, 8 degrees in Bismarck. Clear skies prevailing across the entire region, but get well to the north. Look at this, only 8 below 0 at International Falls. That was their high for the day up there. 1 degree now in Duluth, 1 degree here in the Twins, 9 degrees down in Des Moines, Iowa. A little bit warmer, but not much. 5 degrees in Madison, and a couple of goose eggs, one here in Eau Claire and another goose egg out across Alexandria, and temperatures getting around 9 degrees out in the Green Bay area. And again, that's pretty much the story. Looking at the satellite picture tonight taken down from space a couple of hours ago in the wide sector, you can see that Minnesota is white. The entire 5-state region is white. White here, white here, white here. This is an infrared shot. This all is indicating is just the coldness of the air. This is extremely cold air that's settled in across the entire region. Once somebody gets further south, you can see that it turns black in the picture. This is, again, the infrared image. That indicates much warmer temperatures, but obviously the clouds are showing up rather well. Here's the cold frontal band that came across the area last night, caused all that snow across much of the Twin City metro area. The frontal system is now beginning to move east towards the East Coast, and the East Coast may have some problems tomorrow, because once this cold front begins to move east and pushes towards the New England states, a low-pressure system is going to develop offshore, and that might cause a full-scale snowstorm to develop across the New England states come tomorrow morning. And we'll be keeping an eye out for you there in case you're having any traveling plans out towards the Boston area or other places. On the national weather map tonight, the cold center of the Arctic air is now across northeastern Kansas at this present time. It has sunk rather rapidly in the last 24 hours. It was across Montana last night. It's now moving southeast fairly rapidly, but we're still in the very cold air. It prevails across the entire region, and moderation is slow. But we are getting signs of moderation taking place. Out across Montana, it was around 30 below 0 in Great Falls, Montana this morning. Last hour, 25 above 0, and temperatures are beginning to warm up all along the Intermountain region, and that warm air is going to be beginning to stream rapidly in an easterly direction over the next 24 hours. So tonight will be the coldest night here, then moderation beginning in tomorrow, and tomorrow night the temperatures will continue to rise right into Tuesday, and we might reach into the 40s by Tuesday. So let's look at that forecast, as incredible as it may sound. For tonight, clear and frigid. That's the best word we can describe it. 5 below to 12 below in the Twins. Tomorrow, sunny, not as cold, 15 to 20, but that might not occur until late in the day. Then some patchy clouds moving in tomorrow night, and that will continue to Tuesday. Temperatures continuing to moderate, and Tuesday, temperatures will be in the 30s to near 40. Western Dakotas will be in the lower to middle 50s. And for aviation interest tomorrow, you'll have southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots, and you'll have VFR conditions all day.
Can't believe it's
incredible.
Going to get that cold.
It just keeps on going up and down like a seesaw, and we're not really living up to our bets of having a cold December. It's just been alternating between cold and warm, and we're going right back up again Tuesday.
Well, maybe we'll get some snow with it. The skiers will be happy anyway.
So.
Thank you, Keith.